You're rocking with the baddest DJ.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please take your seats. We'll begin shortly here. My name is Charles Gao. I'm a first-year MBA student at MIT Sloan, and today I have the pleasure of introducing our panel, Luck versus Skill, Gambling Analytics. We have some great panelists here. Going from right to left, we have Ryan Rodenberg, Assistant Professor of Sports Law Analytics from Florida State University. We have Jeffrey Ma, Director of Business Insights from Twitter and former member of the MIT Blackjack team. We have Piko Hosoi, who's a Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Mathematics at MIT. We have Rufus Peabody, professional gambler, co-founder of Massey Peabody Analytics, and this panel will be moderated by Chad Millman, Editorial Director of ESPN. Throughout the panel, please ask questions using the hashtag that you see on the screen, LuckVSkill, hashtag SSAC16. And without further ado, Chad.
Thanks, Charles. I'm fairly certain Charles just gave me a promotion, but I'm happy to take it. So the panel, as we discussed, is luck versus skill. And this has become a particularly hot topic this past year because of all the conversations around daily fantasy. And so I want to start, I'll ask everybody, but Rufus, I'll start with you. In your perspective, how do you describe a game of skill?
Well, I think luck and skill is on a spectrum. You have you started Candyland, which I think everybody played as a kid, or maybe that was just me, which was completely luck, and you have like a game like chess, which is like all skill. And I think there's definitely a lot in the middle, and I think sports betting and DFS and all that is one of those things. I mean, with my sports betting, in an individual game, the biggest determinant of how I do is going to be luck in an individual bet. But over the long term, skill is going to be the primary driver. So I guess the question though is like, it depends on where you set that line to say, is this a game of skill or primarily a game of luck, right?
Right, and so, Peko, I'm going to want you to jump in here for a second. But when you were talking about luck versus skill, there is a frequency component to it. And so I want you to answer the first question and then see if you can layer in the idea of frequency on top of that particular definition.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Rufus that you have to think about luck and skill on a spectrum. And one of the things that will tell you where on that spectrum you lie is how much player decisions impact the outcome, right? So if I make a decision and it has no effect on the outcome of the game, then you're going to be lying on the end of luck, right, versus on the other side. And again, when you're thinking about a contest, if two people are very close in skill, then in order to discern the difference in skill, you have to just play a lot of games, right? And this is true in any endeavor, right? So if you have a grandmaster chess player versus a novice, then that grandmaster is going to win 99 times out of 100. Versus if you have two grandmasters playing each other, you're going to have to play a number of games before you can determine who's the better chess player. So the number of games also factors in.
Jeff, I know you want to jump in.
The grandmaster and a novice played, he wouldn't win 99.9% of the time. He'd win 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the difference. And when you talk about skill versus luck, I mean, chess is completely a game of skill. There isn't a component like there isn't some wind that's going to knock over the chess piece every once in a while, and you can't use your queen anymore because the wind blew.
Yeah, but he could get sick or wander out of the room, or you know.
I mean, but that's like honestly, this is at the core of why I find this argument both interesting and stupid. Because the fact that we have
Jeff
this continuum...
never finds anything to be both interesting and stupid.
No, because we have this continuum of luck versus skill, and most everything we do has a component of luck and a component of skill. There are extremes, and the problem with, getting into the DFS argument, the problem with it is that, we've created this carve-out for daily fantasy sports, and we've created this BS language that allows fantasy to be legal based on it being a game that's skill, without defining at all what the parameters are of this. The carve-out that they did, 5 years ago or 6 years ago, was just asinine, and it's the whole reason that we're in this situation, because they didn't have any definition of what skill or fantasy or any of it was. And so now we're left to the courts to tell us what's luck versus skill, and it's up to the interpretation of, 50 different attorney generals or whomever, and it's a mess.
Right, and the language is fuzzy differently in every state, right? Some it might be predominantly skill, some it might be, I don't know, all skill, right? So it's
Well, the word predominantly itself is just
exactly.
fuzzy.
It's completely. There's no mathematical definition of predominantly.
Ryan, as our resident legal expert, I'm sure you have something to say
So
about
I've
this.
spent far too much time reading all of the BS stuff that's coming out in all these court cases. And in the
You
course
agree
of
it's BS.
So in the course of 50 plus hours of looking at these, you have predominant factor states, you have material element states, you have any chance states, you have some states where it's an outright ban regardless of the skill level. All of those things together, it's an archaic system. The DFS, certainly industry, is really struggling with that right now. One easy back of the envelope way that I always think of to determine whether something is skill or chance or pure luck is if you can lose on purpose, then it's skill. If you can lose on purpose,